Hey guys, how are you doing? Brett Ketchum here with another One Piece not reaction video, but a review video, better said, to the One Piece chapter 1068. And right off the start, let's go to the ending of the chapter, not the beginning of the chapter, because there is actually something that I want you guys to know. At the end of the chapter, I told you guys that I thought I had an idea. So my idea is actually that when we saw Kuma going to teleport himself with his pawpaw fruit, which happened, by the way, in this chapter as well. But when we saw him do that, it actually gave me an idea about Kuma going to Egghead now and actually interfering with the battle of Luffy and Lucci. Of course, at the end of the chapter we saw that Luffy and Lucci finally met each other again, which gave us kind of a setup of a Luffy versus Lucci fight, a rematch. However, I do not actually think there will be a full-out battle, only because of the Kuma part. I think Kuma still has some kind of programming inside of him because of Vegapunk, where he feels the need to protect the Straw Hats, like he asked Vegapunk for his last wish to protect the Straw Hats from any harm during the Sabaody arc. And I think that is actually still the case right here. There are a lot of people that actually think that it's his father instinct, but however, I do not actually think that that would be the case, because of course Kuma is thousands of miles. We actually don't know how far away he is, but how would you feel that without having a Weaver card, right? And Kuma is not really in his right mind or right state of mind where he could understand his Weaver card and understand that he has a daughter. So it doesn't make sense. Also, Kuma was being treated while it happened. It didn't make sense that he would see a Weaver card or whatever to go to help Bonnie. So yeah, that's actually my idea that I had about the Kuma part and the Luffy versus Lucci part. Now, for the rest of the chapter, I actually think the chapter was pretty good to great, but the ending ruined it. And by the ending, you will all have seen my reaction video at the end. I was really upset with that. I do not like Oda doing stuff like that. Just, it doesn't make sense. Atlas is obviously not on a high battle skill level, whatever. And Lucci, being one of the top guys of CP0, we actually do not know if he is the leader of CP0, but I do think that he is one of the top guys, of course. CP0 being the secret organization who is under the direct command of the Celestial Dragons would be at the least an elite level soldier. Kaku even states when Lucci did his Rakugo-gun attack, or whatever it's called, like the 2 attacks that he did to the stomach of Luffy, which by the way also knocked out Luffy, or at least very closely to knocking out Luffy with that attack. Back in the time when Lucci was way weaker, of course. Now he did that right to the face of Atlas. Right to the face of Atlas. Imagine that. A non-elite character taking on a highly elite soldier's top attack in his hybrid form On top of that, where even his colleague Kaku, who has been under Lucci for decades now, I bet, Kaku states that Lucci was being merciless there, indicating that Lucci was not holding back power. We also see that he doesn't hold back power as Atlas's head actually cracks. Of course, we have seen skulls crack and whatever from Usopp, but there is plot armor there, whatever. Atlas, by no means is Atlas going to be a Straw Hat member or whatever. Actually, I would be upset that the Straw Hat member died or whatever, but you know what I mean. It's going to be way more impactful if a character dies because of such an attack. People will also understand how strong someone is if a direct hit like that would just kill someone that is obviously not on that strength level. And people will be like, oh wow, what the hell, this is merciless, oh my god, this is great writing and whatever. But no, Oda has... I have this problem with Oda, that he does not know how to power scale, and this is one of the cases where you actually see that Oda cannot power scale. Atlas should be dead. I'm not going to say any more about that, except that this actually kind of ruined the chapter for me. Another case of power scaling, mis-power scaling, better said, was also found in this chapter when the CP0 guys, or better said, elite level soldiers, were scared to death by a hologram monster, whatever. You would think that elite assassins, soldiers, whatever, from the celestial dragons would at least be strong enough to deal with sea beasts or whatever. I mean, we have seen Luffy dealing with sea beasts ever since what? Since they fought that, how's it, Don Zhao guy or whatever his name is, the guy that was on Sanji's home ship. I mean, it doesn't make sense that a CP0 guy would be feared to death by just a monster, a regular monster, and whatever. But however, at that moment, not Kuma, but Kaku also said something noteworthy, where he said it's a space monster, which kind of, I think, hints towards the moon people again, like we saw a lot of times already. We already saw a lot of hints about space and the moon and stuff like that. So I think Oda is trying to hint us even more towards us going to space. Maybe even with the Kuma part right now, and this just pops up in my head, maybe Kuma will even be able to teleport the Straw Hats and Vegapunk and whatever to space now, instead of towards Elbaf or the Revolutionaries. That's just a random idea that just popped in my head right now. And for now, let's go to the start of the chapter, or not actually the start of the chapter. Let's finish with Kaku first. When CP0 enters the island, which they did by teleporting through the Kuma Seraphim, which also tells us that the Kuma Seraphim actually do possess the Devil Fruit powers of the original ones, as Kuma also teleports. Kind of hints towards that. And I also think that is Oda his way to tell us that the Seraphim actually have the abilities of or better said, the devil fruit abilities of the original ones, because there is actually no need for the Seraphim Kuma to teleport the guys from CP0 towards Egghead, as they possess Skywalk. When Kaku is on the island, he skywalks after he tries to kick the hologram, and Stussy was teasing him. Did not tell him that it was a hologram, but then we see Kaku skywalking towards the lab, and then all of a sudden there is a laser beam hitting him right in the face. Stussy laughing and explaining what actually happened, and that makes Kaku actually pissed and tells her that she has a very cold heart and stuff like that, and her making a funny joke about "didn't that warm you up though" and stuff like that. That was classy. Those are the kind of moments that you love as a One Piece fan. And yeah, I'm very excited to actually see who this Stussy girl actually is, because I'm starting to like her character, like a very sadistic person who doesn't give a damn about even her nakama, or whatever you want to call them, colleagues. It's very funny to see. So that was the part for CP0, and then of course we also have the part where Luffy was together with Vegapunk. So after last week's chapter, where Vegapunk asked Luffy to take him with the Straw Hat Pirates off the island because he is in danger because of the knowledge that he possesses about the Void Century, Luffy asks Vegapunk why. Vegapunk explains why, just like I just did right now, and while explaining it, he also reveals that Vegapunk actually has a dream of creating a source of energy that creates unlimited energy for everyone on the world. Of course, the world government would not want that, first of all, but that's not actually the important point. The important point that I have is that Vegapunk actually kind of fits the Straw Hat crew joining criteria. Am I saying that Vegapunk is going to be a future Straw Hat? I don't think so. But it's very funny to see that Vegapunk would actually be Straw Hat crew material. Why? First of all, he has a dream. We know all Straw Hats have a certain dream. Second of all, Vegapunk tells Straw Hat about him inheriting Professor Clover's will. And the third and most important part is said by Luffy himself, that Vegapunk has a weird looking head. Funny, weird looking head. Luffy has this habit of making people with weird heads or weird skeletons or anything that is out of the ordinary. It will attract Luffy into making them or wanting them to become a Straw Hat member. We have Chopper as a talking deer, we have Frankie as a cyborg, we have Brook as a skeleton, and in all three of those instances, he was fascinated about their appearances. I think by the end of the story, he's gonna have the most weird looking crew in the whole of One Piece, and that fits his character actually so well. Of course, after all these years that we've known Luffy, this fits him so well, and it was funny to see him reacting like that again. I was expecting him to react like that with Yamato as well because of her horns or whatever. So I kind of was disappointed that he did not react like that. But what I thought was very funny about this small conversation was that Chopper actually did not realize yet why Luffy makes people join. I mean, Chopper is one of the people that had a funny appearance or a fun feature that appealed to Luffy, which made him want them to join the crew. And Chopper didn't even realize it until now. And so it's funny that even the crew members don't understand Luffy as of right now. They still don't understand him. Except for Zoro, probably. Zoro actually is the closest one to understanding Luffy. Nami as well, but not to the extent of Zoro. Zoro can just blindly know Luffy. That is a given as his right-hand man. Also, I actually skipped a very small detail about the CP0 teleporting to Egghead, which actually caused the satellites of Vegapunk to rely on the other Seraphim and Sentomaru to go deal with CP0. So this also tells us that Sentomaru is on Egghead. I do not see another way how Sentomaru is not on Egghead right now, so I do think that Sentomaru will appear. And he will probably not be teleported together with Kuma, and he will be left behind to deal with CP0. I do not think he will be able to deal with CP0. I think he's going to be captured and brought to Akainu or whatever, the world government or the Celestials, and be questioned and interrogated and stuff like that to see to what extent Vegapunk actually has information about the world government's hidden secret about the Void Century. But those are all small little details. Of course, it's all about the world government, and yeah. So those are all just very small details that we do not know too much about, and also probably will never know. It's gonna be highly likely it's going to be skipped, but yeah. Those are little details that can actually make you question a few things about what happened, how did that happen, and stuff like that. So yeah, that was about all of the stuff that happened in the chapter, I think. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I don't think so. Except for, of course, the sea beasts sinking CP0's ship, but that was also just a minor detail. Is not too important as they can skywalk anyway. So yeah, my ending score for this chapter, without the last panel where Lucci says that Atlas survives, or better said, if Atlas would have died, I would have given this chapter 4.5 out of 5. Now, with Atlas just randomly surviving a hybrid form top-notch attack of Lucci, better said, I'm gonna give this chapter a 3. I'm gonna be very critical about that. Also, the CP0 guys not all being elite also disturbs me, and yeah, as I said before, I have a very big problem with power scaling inside a One Piece universe. You guys do not know yet, because I have just recently started making reaction and review videos, but I also did not like the Luffy versus Doflamingo, Luffy versus Kaido. I do not like Gear 5, by the way. But yeah, those are all just things that do not make sense to me. How does he just overcome those? The Gear 5 toonish kind of thing does not appeal to me, and a lot of other people actually feel the same way when I talk to them. But yeah, those are all just things that we're gonna have to live with. It's Oda's story. It's still a great overall story. There are just a lot of plot holes, a lot of things that could have been done better. But of course, if you are making a very, very big story like One Piece is, is gonna have errors, and that is normal. Every story has some errors, some major errors, some minor errors, but the bigger your story, the more prone it is to actually getting errors inside your story. So I do understand that Oda wants to get his story finished quicker, because I think he feels like he's making more mistakes as of recent. So to not prolong it anymore and make too many mistakes, because I do think that he is a perfectionist, I think he prefers to make it shorter with less mistakes than making it longer and have more mistakes. So that actually makes perfect sense as to being a perfectionist, just like Vegapunk actually is the perfectionist. So yeah, this was actually my chapter review video, which got dragged on a little bit, about the chapter 1068. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you next time. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you like me reacting and reviewing the One Piece stories, or perhaps you like the Pokemon content that I'm making. So be sure to hit the like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.